The galaxy was burning. From one edge of the spiral arm to the other, the Zorath dominion spread like fire across dry grass. Their warships were black as shadow, moving with a silent grace that filled the skies of conquered worlds. Planet after planet fell. Cities turned to ash, and resistance was crushed before it could even rise. The Zorath believed the galaxy belonged to them, and in truth, no one had ever stopped them. The smallest species of the galaxy lived in fear. Some bent their knees, offering tribute. Others tried to hide in forgotten corners of space. But everyone knew the same truth. When the Zorath came, survival was only temporary. One night, deep in the cold stretch between stars, a signal cut through the silence. It was not sent by the Zorath. It was not sent by any of the great powers of the galaxy. It came from a small, blue world on the edge of an unremarkable system. The world was called Earth, and the signal was human. At first, the message seemed harmless. A stream of sound, patterns of voices, fragments of music, and strange images. Many alien scholars laughed when they received it. The humans had been broadcasting such signal for decades without knowing they leaked into the stars. To the mighty powers of the galaxy, it was nothing but noise. But the Zorath did not laugh. They had destroyed hundreds of species, and in their long conquest they had learned to listen. Hidden in that human signal was something different. It was not the weapons that worried them. It was the tone. The humans were not crying for help. They were not pleading to be saved. They were speaking to one another, and in their voices there was something the Zorath rarely heard. Defiance. The Dominion Council gathered in their vast chamber of steel and flame. The High Warlord of the Zorath sat on his throne, a creature of scaled armor and burning eyes. Around him, commanders argued. "Humans are weak," one general said. "They have no fleets, no colonies, no allies. Their weapons are primitive. One strike will end them." "Then why does their signal disturb me?" the warlord asked. His voice was low, but it carried the weight of storms. "I hear no fear in them, only challenge." The council fell silent. The warlord gave his order. "Send a fleet. Small, but strong enough to break them. I want to know if these humans can scream." And so the Zorath prepared to test humanity. Far away, on Earth, no one knew the danger that was coming. The planet continued to live in its usual way, people working, dreaming, fighting, and hoping. But above them, beyond the reach of their satellites, Zorath warships were already slipping through the dark. The first encounter was near Jupiter. A human research ship, Odyssey 12, was studying storms on the giant planet. Its crew of 12 men and women thought they were alone. Then, without warning, the stars shifted. A shadow fell across their ship. They looked up and saw it, a vessel larger than a city, its surface lined with weapons that glowed like dying suns. Panic filled the human crew. Signals were sent back to Earth. Alarms rang across the Odyssey. But running was impossible. The Zorath ship had already locked them in its grip. The Zorath commander, a tall creature with eyes like knives, stared at the human ship. "Primitive," he said. "This will be easy." He gave the order to fire. But something happened he did not expect. The Odyssey did not run. The humans fought back. Their weapons were weak, yes, but their minds were sharp. They overloaded their energy cores, redirected power to experimental thrusters, and hurled their small ship like a spear into the belly of the Zorath cruiser. The blast shook the void. The mighty alien ship staggered, its shield sparking. The humans had wounded a predator no one else had dared to touch. The Zorath commander roared in fury as flames tore across his decks. He ordered the humans destroyed. Yet by the time his cannons fired, the Odyssey had already slipped into Jupiter's storms, hiding in the chaos of lightning and gas. The commander felt something he had not felt in centuries. Uncertainty. The humans were not the strongest. They were not the most advanced. But they were reckless, creative, and unafraid to fight even when defeat was certain. As a damaged Zorath cruiser limped away, the commander whispered to himself, "These creatures, they are dangerous." Back on Earth, the broken signal from Odyssey 12 reached human command. It carried only fragments of words and static, but one line was clear enough to be heard across every channel. "We are not alone." The galaxy thought humanity would be silent, weak, and easy to crush. But now, the first test had begun, and the Zorath were about to learn a truth that would echo across the stars. When humans fight, they do not fight to survive. They fight to win. The Zorath Dominion had never been challenged like this before. Their cruiser, though larger than a city, limped back from the skirmish near Jupiter with scars across its hull. To the Zorath, this was unthinkable. A single fragile human ship had wounded them. It was not victory for Earth, but it was not defeat either. And that alone was enough to shake the Dominion. The commander of that fleet, Valak the Cruel, stood before the Dominion Council with shame burning in his chest. "The humans are reckless," he admitted, his voice low. "They use their own weakness as a weapon. They are not like the others we have destroyed." The High Warlord listened in silence. Around the council table, alien generals hissed and growled. Some called for Valak's execution. Others demanded the immediate destruction of Earth. But the warlord raised his clawed hand, silencing the room. "No," he said, "we will test them again. If humans are dangerous, it must be proven. If they are weak, their destruction will be simple. Send another fleet. Not one ship this time. A squadron. Let us see if these humans can resist the storm." And so the Zorath prepared a new attack. Far away on Earth, panic was spreading. The fragments of Odyssey 12's message had reached command centers, scientists, and governments. People argued endlessly. Was it real or just noise from space? Some thought the crew had imagined things in the storms of Jupiter. Others whispered the truth, that Earth had just faced something far beyond human understanding. In hidden bunkers, world leaders met. They reviewed the broken transmission, the sudden silence, and the faint trace of alien energy picked up by Earth satellites. The evidence was clear. Humanity was not alone. And worse, the others were hostile. The governments of Earth tried to prepare, but humanity was divided. Nations argued over weapons, resources, and leadership. Yet, in the middle of this chaos, one thing united them: fear. And fear quickly became resolve. If invaders were coming, humans would not wait quietly for their own extinction. The second encounter happened near the orbit of Mars. A squadron of Zorath warships entered the system, silent and dark, like shadows drifting through the void. Their mission was simple: crush human resistance, test their strength, and return with proof that Earth was no threat. They expected silence. They expected terror. They expected easy victory. But when they arrived, they found something else. Waiting for them was a small fleet of human warships. Not grand vessels like those of the Zorath, but repurposed transports, refitted exploration ships, and hastily armed orbital craft. Humans had scrambled to prepare, and though their ships looked weak, their spirits were sharp. The Zorath commander sneered. "Pathetic," he said. "They bring toys to fight war." He ordered his ships forward. The battle began with fire. Zorath cannons lit the void, beams of energy tearing across space. One human ship was destroyed instantly, vaporized before it could even fire. Another broke apart, flames spilling from its hull. The Zorath laughed, certain the fight was already over. But then something strange happened. The humans did not retreat. Instead, their smaller ships darted between asteroids, weaving through the Martian debris field. They hid, attacked, and vanished again like ghosts. Their weapons were weaker, but their tactics were wild and unpredictable. One Zorath cruiser was lured into chasing a single human ship, only to be caught in a crossfire when 3 more human vessels emerged from the shadows. Explosions lit the Martian sky. The Zorath commander snarled in disbelief. "They fight like cornered beasts." One of his lieutenants whispered, "No, they fight like hunters." The turning point came when humans deployed something new. It was not a powerful weapon. It was a trick. Engineers on Earth had studied the strange energy burst from the first Zorath encounter. In weeks, they created a crude jammer, a device to disrupt alien targeting systems. When activated, the jammer filled the void with false signals, confusing Zorath sensors. Suddenly, the mighty alien fleet was blinded. Their weapons fired wildly into empty space, while human ships struck from the dark. The Zorath lost 2 ships before retreating. Their squadron was not destroyed, but it was broken, forced to flee by a species that should have been helpless. Back on Earth, when the news spread, the reaction was electric. For the first time in history, humanity had stood against an alien empire, and lived. The cost was high. Many brave men and women had died in the void. But Earth had proven one thing: humans could fight back. And in the dark chambers of the Zorath Dominion, the High Warlord listened to the reports with growing unease. The humans adapt, Valak warned. They are weak, but they learn faster than any species we have faced. Already, they twist our own technology against us. The Warlord's eyes burned with rage. Then they must be destroyed before they spread. He leaned forward, his claws digging into the Iron Throne. Prepare the invasion of Earth. In the quiet nights of Earth, people looked up at the stars with fear and wonder. They had survived 2 encounters, but survival was not victory. Everyone knew what was coming next. The Zorath were not finished. They were only beginning, and humanity stood at the edge of the greatest war the galaxy had ever seen. The Zorath Dominion had expected the humans to break. Instead, the humans fought like no other species the galaxy had seen. In the shadow of Mars, the Zorath fleet had been forced to retreat. The galaxy's other races, long silent and fearful, began to whisper about the event. The impossible had happened. A young species from an insignificant blue planet had stood against the greatest empire in the stars, and survived. For the Zorath, this was more than defeat. It was humiliation. The High Warlord's voice echoed in the council chamber. They are insects. They have no right to resist. Yet they bleed us. Why? No general could answer. Far away, on Earth, scientists and soldiers worked night and day. Pieces of Zorath wreckage recovered from the Mars battle were locked inside secret hangars. Engineers studied the alien metal, scanning its structure, testing its strength. They found alloys stronger than anything forged on Earth, energy cores more powerful than nuclear reactors, and weapons that made human technology look like stone tools. But what shocked the scientists most was not the weapons. It was how quickly humans understood them. 1 week after the wreckage arrived, human engineers had already managed to power up fragments of Zorath tech. Within 2 weeks, they had built a crude energy shield, unstable but functional. By the 3rd week, Earth's lab were testing new propulsion systems, copied from alien drives. The galaxy had always believed it took centuries to unlock such secrets. Humans were doing it in days. This was the human gift, not greater strength, not sharper claws or harder armor. Adaptation. Humans learn fast, faster than anyone. In the silence of space, another secret unfolded. A hidden station floated in Earth's orbit. Its name was Project Aegis. Inside, scientists and military officers gathered from every nation. Old enemies now worked side by side, united by survival. They tested alien weapons, rewired their systems, and built new machines. One night, a young scientist named Dr. Hannah Reyes stared at a glowing fragment of Zorath crystal. She whispered, "This is not impossible. This is just different." She adjusted the circuits, using human intuition instead of alien logic. Sparks flew. The fragment pulsed like a heartbeat. And suddenly, the crystal obeyed her commands. For the first time, humans had bent alien technology to their will. Project Aegis would change everything. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other species watched in silence. The Kirati, small insect-like traders, trembled at the news. They had seen the Zorath crush countless worlds. Yet now rumors spread of humans turning Zorath weapons against their masters. The Drenathai, a race of tall, scaled scholars, whispered in their libraries, "If humans adapt so fast, they could surpass us all." Some species began to hope. Others began to fear. But all agreed on one thing: the humans were not like the others. The Zorath learned this truth the hard way. They sent spies, cloak ships slipping into Earth's orbit to gather intelligence. One such vessel intercepted human transmissions, listening as engineers tested new weapons. The Zorath spy captain sneered. "They cannot understand our science. It is beyond them." But then he heard the impossible, a human commander giving orders to fire Zorath cannon, mounted on a human ship. The blast tore through space, as clean and deadly as if it had come from a Dominion warship. The spy froze. His claws trembled. The humans were not copying Zorath technology. They were using it. He sent his report back to the High Warlord. The Council erupted in panic. If they continue, they will rise too fast. They will spread like fire. The Warlord growled, his voice like thunder. "Then we must crush them now. If we wait, they will become unstoppable." Back on Earth, preparations grew urgent. Humanity knew the Zorath would return in greater force. The people were afraid, but fear did not break them. Instead, it forged them together. Factories across the world worked without rest. Engineers built hybrid ships, human frames powered by alien drives. Soldiers trained with new weapons, learning to fight in zero gravity. Civilians volunteered to join defense forces. The world that had once been divided by borders was slowly becoming one. And still, in the quiet of laboratories, Project Aegis made progress that no one dared to speak of publicly. A weapon was being built. A weapon that could shift the balance of the war. But it was not ready yet. For now, humans had to survive long enough to finish it. The Zorath were not blind. Their fleets gathered in the darkness, larger than any humans had yet faced. Their goal was simple: destroy Earth before it could rise further. But before they struck, something unexpected happened. A delegation of alien ships arrived in the solar system. They were not Zorath. They were small, worn, and scarred from years of oppression. The first to speak was a Kirati envoy, his insect-like body trembling. "We have heard of your victories. We have heard you wounded the Dominion. We come not to conquer, but to ask, will you stand with us? Will you fight for more than Earth?" The humans were stunned. For the first time, other species were reaching out, not to enslave them, but to ally with them. It was a moment of choice. Would humans fight only for their home? Or would they take their place in the galaxy as defenders of all who were oppressed? As the alien envoys waited, a human commander gave the answer: "We will fight, not just for Earth, for everyone who refuses to bow." The word spread quickly, carried across alien channels, whispered in hidden corners of the galaxy. And so the secret of humanity was revealed. They were not the strongest. They were not the oldest. But they learned faster, adapted quicker, and fought harder than anyone expected. The galaxy began to wonder. Could this new species do what none had done before? Could they defeat the Zorath Dominion? The galaxy had lived in fear of the Zorath Dominion for centuries. No one dared resist. No one dared even hope. Until now, word of the humans had spread like fire in the dark. Stories traveled across the stars. Stories of fragile ships that had outmaneuvered mighty cruisers, of scientists who tamed alien weapons in weeks, of a small planet that had survived when all others had fallen. For the first time in generations, the oppressed species of the galaxy began to whisper a forbidden dream. Perhaps the Zorath could be beaten. On Earth, the Kirati envoy waited for an answer. His thin, insect-like body trembled as he stood inside the great chamber of Earth's United Command. Around him sat human generals, scientists, and leaders. The alien spoke with a voice that clicked like breaking glass. "We have no fleets, no armies," he admitted. "But we know the Dominion. We have served under their chains for centuries. We know their supply lines, their hidden stations, their weaknesses. Alone, we are nothing. Together, we may fight." The room fell silent. Some humans argued against it. "We can barely defend Earth," said one general. "Why should we fight for others?" But others saw a greater truth. If Earth fought alone, the Zorath would crush them. But if humanity built something larger, something the galaxy had not seen in centuries, they might have a chance. Finally, the decision was made. The human commander rose and spoke with a steady voice. "We will not stand alone. If the Zorath seek to rule the stars, then let us build a shield strong enough to stop them. We will fight. Together." The Kirati envoy bowed deeply, his antennae shaking with emotion. For the first time in his life, he felt hope. The news spread quickly. Other species followed. The Drenathai, tall reptilian scholars, sent emissaries carrying ancient knowledge of Zorath strategies. The Tarlok, gray-skinned miners, offered raw materials to build new ships. Even the timid Veari, the species that had hidden in cave beneath their homeworld, came forward, offering thousands of volunteers to serve as scouts and fighters. Each new ally brought something unique, and each one carried the same fear. The Zorath Dominion had ruled too long. If they discovered this alliance, the punishment would be brutal. But still, they came. One by one, species joined, gathering under the banner of a world the Zorath had underestimated. Under the banner of Earth, Project Aegis became the heart of this alliance. Humans and aliens worked side by side in hidden stations. Engineers combined human creativity with alien knowledge. Ships that were once clumsy transports became swift hunters. Weapons that once took centuries to understand were rebuilt in weeks. Dr. Hannah Reyes, standing inside the station, watched as a karate engineer showed a human how to stabilize alien crystal power cores. She smiled. "This is how we win," she whispered. "Not by being stronger, but by being together." The Zorath, however, were not blind. Spies brought word of strange meetings between humans and alien rebels. The Dominion Council grew restless. "They unite," one general snarled. "The weak gather around Earth like insects around light." The High Warlord slammed his claw against the Iron Throne. "Then we will snuff out that light. Prepare the invasion fleet. This alliance will be crushed before it takes its first breath." Before the storm, a great gathering took place in orbit above Earth. Dozens of ships, human and alien, drifted together. For many, it was the first time they had stood as equals. A meeting was held inside a massive station, where banners of different species hung side by side. Some aliens trembled, remembering centuries of fear. Others looked at the humans with disbelief, as if still unsure this alliance was real. A Tarlock miner spoke first, his gravelly voice echoing. "If we join you, we put our families in danger. The Dominion will hunt us all." A human officer answered firmly. "The Dominion will hunt you anyway. The only choice is whether you kneel or stand." The room grew silent. Then the Kirati envoy stepped forward. "The humans are reckless. They fight even when hope is gone. And still, they win. If they will stand, then so will we." One by one, voices rose. The Drenathai pledged knowledge. The Tarlock pledged steel. The Vayari pledged lives. And the humans, with steady resolve, pledged to fight until the galaxy was free. A new alliance was born. But the celebration was short-lived. Scouts brought urgent reports. A massive Zorath fleet was moving through the stars, its path clear. It was coming for Earth. Panic spread through the chamber. The alliance was too young, too fragile. Their fleets were untested. Their weapons were not ready. Yet the humans did not waver. Commander Elias Kane, the human leader, stood before them all. His voice was calm but sharp as steel. "The Zorath come to break us before we begin. Let them come. We will not hide. We will not surrender. Together, we will show them the galaxy has teeth." The room erupted in a chorus of voices, alien and human alike. Fear remained, but something greater rose above it. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy was not silent. It was united. And as the stars burned above, the greatest war in history was about to begin. The night sky above Earth looked calm, but every radar station on the planet screamed with warnings. The Zorath fleet was coming. It was the largest armada humanity had ever seen. Dozens of black warships, each the size of cities, each carrying enough firepower to burn continents. They had come not just to conquer. They had come to end humanity. In their council chambers, the Zorath High Warlord gave a single order: erase them. No survivors. On Earth, fear spread like wildfire. Families crowded into shelters. Cities went dark to avoid detection. For the first time in history, every nation stood as one, united under the same flag: survival. The Galactic Alliance, still fragile and new, scrambled to prepare. Kirati engineers worked beside human crews, reinforcing defenses. Drenathai scholars plotted possible enemy strategies. Tarlock miners forged weapons from stolen Dominion alloys. Even the timid Vayari, once too afraid to stand, now volunteered as scouts, flying small ships into the void. At the center of it all stood Commander Elias Kane, humanity's chosen leader. His voice carried across every channel. "The Zorath believe we will kneel. Tonight, we show them we will fight. Not for Earth alone. For every world that fears their shadow. For every voice they tried to silence. We fight for the galaxy." The words lit a fire in every heart. The battle began at the edge of the moon. Zorath warships emerged from a void, black against the stars. Their cannons glowed like suns, tearing through the darkness. The first human ships rose to meet them, small, fragile, and hopelessly outmatched. Yet they did not retreat. Instead, they darted forward like hunters, weaving between asteroids, hiding in the moon's craters, striking and vanishing before the enemy could lock onto them. The Zorath unleashed their fury. Entire human squadrons were lost in flashes of fire. But for every ship destroyed, another struck back, leaving scars across the Dominion hulls. And then came the first surprise. A human vessel, Horizon Spear, activated an experimental shield built from stolen Zorath tech. The Dominion cannon struck, but the shield held, unstable, flickering, but strong enough to survive. The human crew fired back with a weapon they should never have been able to wield, a Zorath plasma cannon, now mounted on a human ship. The blast tore through the enemy fleet. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Still, the Zorath were many, their ships advanced in waves, pushing closer to Earth. It seemed the Alliance would break under the storm. But humanity had prepared a second surprise. Hidden across Earth's orbit were hundreds of satellites, each armed not with powerful weapons, but with something far more dangerous, hacking systems designed to disrupt Zorath control networks. At Kane's command, the satellites came alive, flooding the enemy with false signals. Suddenly, the Zorath fleet faltered. Their ships turned against each other, targeting allies by mistake. Confusion spread like fire through their ranks. It was the opening the Alliance needed. From the shadows, allied fleets struck. The Kirati, though small, flew like lightning, darting between the massive cruisers. The Tarlok hurled asteroids, dragged by makeshift engines, smashing into Dominion hulls. The Vayari scouts relayed constant updates, guiding human squadrons to weak spots. The Alliance was no longer a dream. It was real. It was fighting. But victory did not come without sacrifice. One of the Zorath's largest dreadnoughts broke through the defenses, heading straight for Earth. Its weapons powered up, ready to unleash fire strong enough to burn continents. Commander Kane made the hardest choice of his life. He ordered the Defiance, his flagship, to ram the enemy vessel. The humans knew it was suicide. They knew they would not return. And yet, without hesitation, the crew obeyed. The Defiance roared forward, engines blazing. As the Zorath dreadnought prepared its final strike, the human ship slammed into its core. The explosion lit the heavens, brighter than the moon itself. Both ships were lost, but Earth was saved. Every screen across the planet showed the same sight, a single human vessel, giving everything to stop the unstoppable. The galaxy would never forget the name Defiance. The Zorath retreated that night, not because they could not win, but because they realized victory would cost them far more than they expected. Humanity and its new allies had bled them. For the first time in living memory, the Dominion withdrew. On Earth, people wept. They had lost countless lives, but they had survived. The unthinkable had happened. The Zorath invasion had failed. And across the stars, whispers grew louder. The galaxy had seen the turning point. The humans could not only survive, they could win.